Good afternoon, everyone, and I hope everyone's had a good, sumptuous lunch to kickstart this session. Today, we talk about a topic which has recently been in hot discussion amongst not just the legal fraternity, but also amongst the business community at large. In March 2023, the Bar Council of India framed the law firm rules, which we largely call as the foreign law firm rules, where they allowed or have started to build in the practice of recognizing, allowing the entry and regulating the entry of foreign law firms in the Indian legal market. As we know, since 2018, through a Supreme Court judgment, the practice of foreign lawyers flying in and flying out of India for the purpose of participating in international arbitrations where the legal framework pertained to foreign law was allowed. However, it seems that the Bar Council of India has taken a step forward in that direction, and that's the topic of discussion that we have our esteemed panel today discuss. I have with me today to discuss this topic Mr. Sameet Gambhir, who's going to join us in some time, Suvajit Chakraborty, Director Legal and Compliance at PerkinElmer, Mr. Vineet, Global Group GC at Tech Mahindra, who's been one of the stalwarts in this industry and can definitely throw a lot of light on this subject, and Sourish Mohan Mitra, who's Director Legal Affairs at Gartner and also a proclaimed author. May I start this discussion with Suvajit first, and let me take this first question to you since you deal with the industry where you're part of a global MNC structure, that foreign law firms have been advising the global outfits of your company at a foreign level. How do you see this panning out into the Indian territory where the same law firm may now be able to assist you within the framework of international law or the foreign law, which has some impact on the Indian regime?
First, thank you for the question. It's a little difficult to address a gathering after a sumptuous lunch, but I'll try to keep it short and sweet. From a company perspective, I look after a territory which encompasses around 110 countries. So it's a different jurisdictions which we look after. I work with almost 70 law firms across globe. So from that perspective, if I believe that in India, when you are working on certain matters, if you have someone with whom you can connect with a UK law firm or with a US law firm, and they manage the whole system as a whole, it will be easier from a management perspective, what I will say. But as I said that there is a trend which I want to say, that there's a lot of trend where Indian law firm partners or people who have passed law in India have joined companies which is outside India, and they are adept with the legal framework in India. So sometimes it may be required for us to get that advice, and as the law has been told that on non-litigious matters we can get their advice, it's perfectly okay for that. But when it comes down to matters where I believe that someone who is from the country will be more adept to give me an advice on that, I will prefer to get an advice from someone who is a law firm from the country. But if these law firms have some gentleman agreement with these foreign law firms, it makes my life easy as it is.
So just to follow up on that, and a question to Mr. Vij on this issue, since you have dealt with this industry for a very long time, as Suvajit said, now foreign law firms can set up offices in India. However, the scope is restricted to only advisory on the foreign law firm, the foreign law field. Somewhere there's a debate that this is still what we call a halfway house. Where do you see this going forward?
So, good afternoon and thank you for having me. So there are two aspects. I don't want to start on the negative aspect of saying, nothing has been achieved and, we stand almost where we were. So on the positive side, yes, it's a breakthrough. We've almost last 10 years seen a couple of the Madras High Court, Bombay High Court, and then the Supreme Court judgment, which kind of created a no entry for law firms, foreign law firms. So we now have a situation where we have a notification which allows entry of law firms in a particular manner with particular safeguards, etc. So to that extent, it's a great move. Could it have been bigger, better? I don't know. At least it's done. The surprising part also is that it has come out of the blue. I'm not sure if went through a consensus process. who was consulted and so on and so forth. So surely there is it's a clear indication that we want to move this path. So therefore, it's a great breakthrough, I would call it. Will it achieve? Not sure at this point in time, because there are questions around whether the notification in itself can lead to law firms getting started. Then you have this issue about reciprocity. Then you have this, this 60 days fly in, fly out stuff. So I know 2 law firms who are already curtailing their visit to India for a fact that they want to be sure that they're not hit by the 60 days if and when they decide to be coming here. So to that extent, it's a great breakthrough. It's a great beginning. Let's look at it positively, and I'm sure the rules will follow, and we will see some breakthrough. But as my fellow panelists just mentioned, I think with companies who are there in almost several jurisdictions, tens and 50s of them, for them they were already seeking legal advice when it comes to foreign law firms. So for my stuff, say for example in UK, we were already taking advice of some of the leading UK law firms. So will they come and set up a shop here? Will they get started is the question. But I think with the eye on probably making India as the arbitration hub, or at least, if not the hub, at least to get that started, this is a good move. So I think kind of summarized the goods and the bads, but yes, it's a great breakthrough.
Thank you. And since I have you on this thought, can I just ask you a follow-up question on this? As you said, the idea was to bring in more or to make India a better arbitration regime. The rules, at least for now, on paper, provide the fact that the foreign law firm will be able to set up an office in India, yet not be able to partner with an existing Indian law firm, or they may have to ultimately do a merger as we practically see it. Where do you see this going forward as far as the foreign law firm is concerned? So is this going to impact the Indian legal market, or at present the advisory market?
So I think the foreign law firms are not entering these small cities, tier 2, tier 3. Anyways, that will never be their focus. So what we are talking about, practice in foreign law, will be basically confined to your 4, 5, 6 metros, and the larger companies which kind of have global operations have issues, and therefore they want to arbitrate, or they want to settle their disputes, if not in Singapore, Dubai, London, they want to do it in Delhi, Bombay, etc. So to my mind, once this regime is done, it may not really be a threat, or you will see this is just going to be another competition, and there is enough space, to my mind. Should not be a problem, and the big law firms are already equipped to, and on a separate note, I think they will also raise up their standards in the sense that you will always, they will also get to see how these law firms operate. So nothing to say that our law firms are any standards less, but I'm sure competition brings a situation where you raise your standards as well. I mean, competition has done it even in the other industries that have got opened. So I'm sure the law firms will not find it a problem. The Indian law firms will not find it a problem. In fact, they'll give them a tough fight.
Thank you. I'll take this to Sourish now. Sourish, as someone who's also worked with the boutique Indian legal setup on the transaction or the advisory side, how do you see this affecting the market sentiment in general? Because as lawyers, so I am from a litigation background. I'm largely into litigation practice. So at present, the way we see the rules, they don't really impact us because it does not extend to litigious work, but it covers every domain under the non-litigious work as far as any impact it may have on international law or a foreign law regime. How do you see this, say, affecting a small boutique M&A law firm in India, where a client who otherwise would be serviced by them even on a foreign law question will today at least look out for a law firm which may be doing a fly-in, fly-out for that purpose?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everyone. This is a very interesting session, a topic which has been going on for many years now. The government has been trying their best to get it in through various positions. We had support from the Bar Council by these rules, and the debates continues in the legal fraternity as to how will be the impact. Now, with respect to boutique law firms, let me give you an example of an experience that we've had. So when we are a global company, so we had engaged counsels from outside India. Now, they in turn could not do the local advice over here. So they engaged their contact law firms, which turned out to be a boutique law firm. And then because of that, we got to know about this boutique law firm. And now we are able to work with them as well independently too. So my thought is that boutique law firms will only gain from this thing because they already have possibly tie-ups in place, because M&As today are not done only in India. They are an impact of a global transaction whose India leg is done here. Welcome, sir.
You can probably have a round of applause for Mr. Gambhir, who has just joined us.
My apologies.
So to conclude, I feel that boutique law firms will gain more from this thing because they're already currently in that scenario, and hopefully they'll be able to leverage that and make it even bigger for themselves.
Okay. On this now, I'll just take it back to Suvajit once. Since you are part of the GC structure dealing not only with legal, but a very important aspect which most companies today or global companies face is compliance. So we have various foreign law compliance, which today Indian companies also as part of the global structure, the global setup have to meet, be it FCPA, UKBA, or even GDPR for that matter. So where do you see the entry of foreign law firms? Because this is now especially a topic covering foreign law. Where do you see this coming in aid or assistance, or for that matter, at least in attribution to the existing work?
Yeah, so it's a very good question, very pertinent question, which is this, because when we look at it from a perspective of a foreign law firm coming in, as each of the MNCs, and I will say now mostly with all the promoter-driven companies also, they do KYC check for all the any service provider, be it a law firm or anything, and then you need to sign on with certain FCPA and all this, which gives a plus point to these law firms because these people are already engaged in other jurisdictions with us, which does, I'd say, a waterfall effect for us in these countries. I think, as Vineet said, that if you want to be playing with the big players, if you should not be afraid of that a bigger player, maybe a UK player or a US player coming in and will destroy the market for you. It's good for, I do not know how good it is for the law firms, but it's good, very good for clients, because then we will be able to get better results, maybe at a cheaper cost. I do not know about the costing, but then at a cheap, because it's very important, because as GCs now, as is told in the previous panel, budget is something which we need to manage. And from the compliance point of view, of course, these foreign law firms has an edge because they have done it beforehand with other territories. But it's a new learning field for Indian law firms. And one small point which Vineet said is that I think one thing that we have not done in India is that when BCI comes out with certain press release or certain things, and those drafts come out, they can have some consultation with people around so that it's more clear. And it's you should not give, like after AK Balaji case in 2018, whatever has happened, whenever new things come, it should give a better way forward for people, clearer way than confusing us a little bit.
Thanks. So before we take it to the last leg, which is on what this could have been made into, I'll take one initial view from Mr. Gambhir. Since we raised this issue of budgeting, typically the Indian notion or the Indian mindset always has been that a foreign advice or a foreign entry is always seen as cost ineffective for a local client. And we saw this trend initially with, say, forensic or a transaction audit, where a big four coming in would always be seen as a budget, a specific budget allocation. Probably as far as auditing is concerned, that trend has shifted now towards a more comprehensive work because you see that foreign expertise coming in. Where do you see this outlay as far as Indian law firms are concerned in the present framework that has been set up?
I think if you ask me from in-house perspective, I think we are all very open to welcome with the open arms and all to the foreign law firms. There's no doubt about that. We have been using the foreign law firms either through the Indian law firms or sometimes directly in other countries also. But I think yes, costing is always a pressure on the GCs or in-house counsel, but I don't think it's something which which is preventing you for using the law firms in any case. The challenge what I see is that yes, when you compare the costing with the other law firms in the Indian law firms, Now, the Indian law firm is going to raise the rates also, to my mind, frankly. Maybe, may not be. Okay. So I think I don't see any challenge in terms of the costing and all, because when you have to hire a law firm in any jurisdiction, you definitely have to hire a law firm, and then you have to pay for that. And opening of law firm in India is frankly very, very good in terms of in-house counsel. What we are seeing is, because we get a lot of opportunities, frankly, and we always take benefit of that. We get the different type of experiences they have, kind of a thing. And particularly for the young lawyers, what I see nowadays is, because India is absolutely nowhere behind in any other country where the quality of law students and young lawyers we have here, the kind of law schools we have, the kind of universities we have, lawyers we have, the bright young lawyers are here, and they need that kind of opportunity. They need that kind of exposure, which definitely is a very, very good, starting point for them. Particularly young lawyers, they'll get a lot of good opportunities. The way of working there, they will definitely get a good intern for the students and also. So overall, when I see, अगर ये आज से 25 साल पहले हो रहा होता ना, तो I would have a lot of concern about that, because मुझे लगता है यार पता नहीं हमारा mindset कैसा है. But now the lawyer community is so much mature that we know that how do we handle the case. We know that these are something which is we have opened up our mind. We are living in a globalized era where we need these kind of people. Look at the technology lawyers. I don't think so any other good technology lawyer you will find in any other country where we have in India, frankly. I met a lot of technology lawyers people, and so much clarity in the law, so much clarity on the Web3, the tokenization, the IAs and all. So basically, what I'm thinking now is it's a very, very good step according to me. If I'm talking from an in-house perspective or from the perspective of young lawyers, those who need to get to exposed. Now, almost every law firm outside India has an India desk here, because India is a potential market. Which law firm you tell me doesn't have an India desk? India desk is there, India practice there. I mean, to the extent possible, they are advising Indian clients. So for us, in-house lawyers, yes, we have been using the foreign law firms. We will keep on using the foreign law firm. I'm not sure the costing will increase, decrease, what will happen. There are always budget constraints, no doubt about that. And accordingly, we have to elect or select the law firm. But it's a very, very positive step according to me, and I'm with it.
Just a follow-up to both you and Mr. Vij on this, since you've been veterans in this industry and dealing with global law firms before even a pre-AK Balaji issue where there was uncertainty on whether a foreign law firm can really come even for an arbitration practice. Now, we've heard that the idea behind the rules was only to make this an arbitration-friendly jurisdiction. How do you see this changing as far as your work as a general counsel is concerned? Does the way in which you deal with a foreign law firm while having an Indian law firm on the fray remain the same? Or do you see these rules where now a foreign law firm actually exists on ground for you, a phone call away, or it always was a phone call away, but now with a physical presence in India for a transactional work which is to take place within the territory of India? Does that change the outlook as far as your work is concerned?
I think, as you rightly said, they were always a phone call away, but face-to-face is always better, personally speaking. I mean, not just on the law, this side, but from pandemic and post-pandemic, I think we've all gone back to work. We realize what you achieve face-to-face is much different from what you do virtually. So I think, hopefully we will soon see these law firms come up with their offices here. Doesn't seem like under the present scheme of things, honestly. I've had a lot of conversation with multiple law firms. US for sure, law firms are not seeing a potential here. UK, Singapore, possibly. So we will soon see at least UK-based law firms, hopefully soon here. Just a few kilometers away, you could walk into their offices. You could have, as Sameet rightly said, you could see a lot of Indians getting hired, probably. Our boys and girls who are the best probably in the class. So they'll be there as well. So it looks pretty encouraging to me. And then of course, how does it span out eventually will depend on how much of space do we create really. So will we really be able to make our arbitration friendly place will depend on many other factors. It's not just about having the law firms here. It's also about institutionalizing and, the arbitration centers and credibility and many other issues. So there are a lot of stuff which will go into it as well. But yes, surely it is the step in the right direction.
So I'll take this back to Sourish now. So Mr. Gambhir raised a very interesting issue regarding talent and the fact that today the best talent is also joining Indian law firms, and we are at par with most of the foreign law firms as far as expertise is concerned. Now, 5 years or 7 years back, when we were also, in the fray of jobs, that time the concept of magic circles or white shoe firms was gaining traction, and that's where we saw a lot of people join foreign law firms because it was an attractive proposition at that point of time. With a foreign law firm now opening office in India and having that very comfort within the jurisdiction of your country, albeit with the fact that you can only do non-litigious work, do you see there's going to be a change as far as the recruitment trajectory of most national law schools or prestigious law schools are concerned?
All right, thank you so much. If we stick to certain law schools, etc., I think the mindset was always there that you try something different. Litigation was there, but non-litigation was gaining traction even when we were studying. Over a period of time, I've noticed that the number of law schools have increased significantly. As per a report tabled in the Parliament last year, around 1,700 registered law colleges are there in India. So the vast pool of resources which are now coming out of these law schools, as sirs already have mentioned, they are very talented. But if their talent is not utilized in the right way, then they may lose out on the talent. And we all know if the career trajectory is lost somewhere in between, the learning also stops. Now, with the advent of foreign law firms, the employment opportunities are going to increase. And with that opportunity, not even employment, at the first stage, say someone in a normal law school wants to do an internship in a foreign law firm today, it's impossible for them to reach out to someone who will do that. But if there's a presence of that organization in India, then there's a very good chance of them to have that opportunity to at least get that exposure, if not a job. So internship is the first step to a job, right? So you get exposure in that area. So if they get that exposure over there and they like it, then there's an opportunity for them to go into that. I mean, they may not want to then go into litigation, which is different. So if they are interested, they get an exposure as an intern, and then they slowly get into that field. So that way, I believe that yes, there's going to be a change if the mindset changes, the objective changes. So if the law firms come in, then the mindset and the thought process of students will change, of law schools will change, and our bright students will get more opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very insightful answer. And since we've had 2 rounds of responses from all of you, I'll leave this open for anyone to answer. As litigators or people practicing in courts, often we see that we need a transactional aspect also to be understood from the client. And now, in most matters, while the Bar Council rules say that the foreign law firm can only practice as in the foreign law on the foreign law aspect, it's never a pure question of foreign law. You will always have a situation where it's a multi-dimensional or there is definitely some overlap. As people on the other side of an external counsel's work, how do you deal with this situation pre the Bar Council era, and how do you see that changing? The Bar Council rules changing this?
Yeah. So thanks for the question. So as you said that right now, if you look at the whole legal landscape of the country and it's a litigation and all, there's a lot of places where there was a cross-functional things. So litigation. So maybe I take the advice from a foreign law firm or somebody who is providing the advice, and then I reach out to a litigator, explain it to that person. And right now, with the advent of technology, which is there, maybe and that person may not need to be present here. I can connect with him on a digital platform and get his advice over there. Because it's always better from a global perspective if India forms just a little part of a deal. And if there's a litigation which needs to be done as per as a requirement of the country, and somebody who is advising on the umbrella deal, that person's presence can be there. And another important thing that you were telling in the litigation, there's the same fear that we have with the AI, right? We say with AI coming in, this thing can happen, that thing can happen. With foreign law firms coming in, there's an issue on that. But I believe that as Indians, we are very capable, that we are always okay for any challenges. And as Sourish and Vineet has said, that if there are things, if there's so many the law firms number, tier 1 law firms numbers are limited. If there are more law firms in the country, the opportunity increases manifold. And I think that's something which is happening in a better and a bigger way for our talent pool in India.
Just to add, I think you talked about Indian law, foreign law, and and especially with this the notification talking about foreign law firms allowed to practice foreign law here, right? So I think as a GC of a multinational organization which operates in multiple jurisdictions, for our mergers, acquisitions, deals, etc., we've anyways been using multiple law firms, and then whether it's acquisition of assets, rebadging, across the cross-country transactions, etc., we would use law firms all across. How does it span? And Indian lawyers also come and play an important part because, especially in the IT space, the delivery primarily happens in India. So I think Indian law really becomes important when it comes to those global deals and transactions. So from that perspective, I think the Indian lawyers have always had a say, and it's always been a kind of a cocktail of laws that we look at, and to see that, if we are to operate in, say, 50 jurisdictions, can we do it, and so on. So I think it's just going to add further and support, so as to say. And on the artificial, while Sameet adds, I am worried on the artificial intelligence piece. I don't know. That's a separate topic, and if it's there already. So whether on the one hand, foreign law firms generating business, etc., and so on, how is the artificial intelligence going to eat all of that? I don't know. And that can be a long discussion.
No. So artificial intelligence is too much on our mind. I was saying the other day, whenever you sit in any panel on any subject of legal, it comes in. Automatically it comes in. So much.
Interestingly, our very first session was on artificial
in any
intelligence.
session you will see.
I had a discussion on this issue.
And on a lighter note, I've asked foreign law firms particularly to give me one normal rate that they give us. Then I now tell them, can you give me a rate which is the foreign lawyers that you will use aided by AI? So can you give me a reduction? And believe me, they are going to come up with such, AI to that extent, Google anyways and research engines were anyways used and they were aiding. But this chat GPTs and the, bards, these are out of the world. So separate discussion.
We have to understand that AI is something which gets more matured with time. We have not given it enough time. So give it maybe say 3 years more and then see what it can do.
So in terms of your question again, let me just give you an example. We were handling a merger, multi-country kind of a merger. It was a part of a restructuring organization wherein we were doing an inbound merger, right? Now in India, we need a specialized lawyer who can appear in NCLT and who can do the Indian regulation ke hisab se scheme and everything. But it was so much complex transaction that we needed lawyer in those countries also. Now they were advising there, but at the same time they were listening to my Indian lawyer because my Indian lawyers always had a lead there because they know because they are going to appear. He's the local lawyer. So ultimately in that transaction, what we have seen is we have hired one of the big four in that country also, tax expert, one of the lawyer in that particular country also, and they were all they were all realizing, and then they could see the importance of Indian lawyer as well, but at the same time we could get the benefit of that law firm. So in any case, what I'm trying to say is that in any case, we've been using the foreign law firm, but yes, it doesn't make much of a difference to an Indian lawyer because so far as the things for the Indian lawyers are concerned, they will definitely be there. Your own expertise, your own areas definitely will be there. Everyone has to regard that.
A small point here. As Sourish said, sometimes I've found that foreign law firms are better finding Indian lawyers for us. I'm telling you the truth. Because I will go to a tier 1, tier 2. They will find me a boutique firm who can give me precise advice in a much lesser time at a much effective cost. Gentleman's agreement.
So, thank you so much. These thoughts are wonderful. As Sir was mentioning, two things that you mentioned about having different fees for lawyers with AI and all. These are technological advancements which foreign law firms already have put in place. Now, when they're coming in, we might have the benefit of those things in our provisions as well. Plus, Sir was mentioning about employing, Big Four across. Now, Big Four has a presence everywhere. I myself have been part of a Big Four, so I know that working over there, the mechanisms, the approaches they use are pretty modern, because what happens in a different territory for them is usually present in the Indian arm as well, and which we used to utilize as well. So having that kind of an exposure and a similar model may be of benefit. That's what I think, going by what we see from experience of such organizations present in different geographies.
And just to add, I think my view, and I think it's the panel's view, the Indian law firm's advice, to my mind, is much more superior when it comes to foreign law firms. Foreign law firm will confine himself, herself to the point of law, to the jurisdiction, and so on and so forth. I have seen lawyers, Indian law firms particularly, and in-house also, with the kind of exposure that we've had gone, in the last 20 years, having gone global, the kind of advice that comes can go beyond the barriers, and the kind of value they bring is tremendous. So therefore, going back to the BCI rules and the entry point, etc., I think it can do much better, much good than than we are even expecting.
So सर की पॉइंट से मुझे याद है मेरा इन हाउस लॉयर्स मेरा दर्द समझ सकते हैं ये, और इंडियन लॉ फॉर्म भी. हम यहाँ से बैठे कोई डील कर रहे हो, सो वी आर सिटिंग हियर, वी आर डूइंग अ डील विद द फॉरेन लॉ फॉर्म देयर. I am doing the deal in all respect of the legal issues, whether it's employment, it's a contractual, it's a labor issue, it's a cyber issue, maybe cyber issue could be, or IT matter, IP matter. You will find the person who's saying, oh, no, this will be dealt by my employment lawyer. He will come and he'll say. So for us, it's a very good opportunity. What we have done is, we are actually, we have done all kind of laws, but there they have specialized people. Yes. So either one thing will happen, either we'll also get into that culture, ki bhaiya, theek hai, we need a employment lawyer also, we need a IP lawyer differently, and which is what is happening actually. But yes, वो दर्द आपकी बात ठीक है कि Indian lawyers at certain point of times are much more matured in terms of handling various complexities, whereas they may not be, because they are specialized in their areas, and we know how to handle the complexities, complex situation, how to break down the situation, and how to overcome the situation.
And give less disclaimer.
Less disclaimer, and in less fees and less salaries.
So since we're running short of time, that was a very reassuring movement for at least the Indian lawyer and the Indian fraternity is concerned. May I leave this open for questions, if any, since we have a very illustrious panel right now? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, this is Mamta Jha from Intel Advocate. I think one of the biggest comment which I have from the law firm's perspective, that in India, the family-run law firm which is prevalent will get to learn to institutionalize it, and the benefit of the pool which we have of the young lawyers will get more organized. So this sector needs to be more organized when the entry of foreign law firms will come. That's one. And second, of course, I practice in IP, and therefore we work very closely with the foreign law firms on a various patent aspects and other aspects. And believe you me that all the foreign law firms believe in the capabilities and the capacities and the strategy which the Indian law firm provides, and therefore absolutely there is no concern. Thank you.
We've already got the nudge twice that we need to wrap up the session. Thank you so much.